so much for joining our Take and Make for Teens glass gem magnet activity. So today I'm just gonna do a quick video to show you how simple it is to make really beautiful magnets and really powerful ones too. Here I have just some examples of magnets that have been made previously. I use the Zoom to work. This one here, I used a magazine image. Here I have one. It says, I used a comic book to get that little speech bubble. More magazines. This one here is a flower image. And quite a few. So you can use lots of different things as your the art for your magnet. In the kit that you received from the library, you would have gotten some scrapbook papers. These are a nice, strong, durable paper. They're gonna transfer really well, bright and colorful. But as I talked about in just one of the Facebook posts, I shared that you can also use other things. You can use personal photographs. You can use paper from discarded books if you wanted a book themed magnet. And also magazines are a great resource for images. This ring, the colors and the gem-like appearance of it does make for a really pretty one. I actually have a magnet here that was used, it was a diamond kind of pattern, and it just comes out really nice. And other things that you might be surprised, like this one here, I was inspired. It's a bit of like a angelic mermaid graphic, which I found pretty interesting, and I thought that could make a really nice magnet. Here, there's some cherubs at the bottom of this marble statue. And how you can tell whether something is going to work for a magnet is actually just take one of your glass gems and put it right over the picture. And this is going to tell you kind of what your frame is going to look like, what you're actually going to see when you go to create the magnet. So if I tried to do a really big image, like if I wanted both figures here, I might not be able to get a really good image of it because it's too small for the, or too large for the magnet that I have. So certainly you can kind of see how it goes. This one, I chose this magazine page because I thought that the turquoise could be a really pretty color. Just a specific color wash that would look really nice. So there's lots of things you can do. You could draw your own pictures and create magnets from that. So what I'm going to do first is I'll actually use one of the magazine ones that I had rather than the scrap paper. And what we're going to do is we're going to be, as I said, using the glass cabochon. This is a 1-inch round. You can get it from any craft store. These were purchased through an online vendor for, I think there were 100 of these glass gems, and it was about $10 for that 100. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place it on the image where I want to capture that pattern underneath. If you were doing scrapbook paper, you're going to do the same exact thing. So you'll take your scrapbook paper, you'll lay your glass gem on top of it, choose the frame, i.e. what is going to be underneath that glass bead, hold it in place with your finger, and then just draw around it with a pencil to get the outline of the bead. Once you have the outline, I don't know if you can see it here, relatively small, you're just going to use your scissors to cut that circle out. Now, bear in mind that we are probably going to have to trim this a little bit smaller. We're getting the basic shape and the basic subject matter. So just kind of cut around the outside. This is very forgiving. So if you you cut it and it's not a perfect circle, no matter. It's still going to look great when it's finished. Okay. So now I've got my circle cut out. I'm just going to place that bead over it, and I can see that I've got a bit of extra paper there on the side. I don't know if you can see, but I'm going to trim that up. So you can actually do that with the scissors while it's right while you're holding the glass in place. You might have to kind of angle the scissors away from you to get underneath that, that edge, but it's not terribly difficult. Again, if you end up cutting a little bit too far, probably you won't even notice that the finished product. Okay, all right. So I'm pretty satisfied that I've got got the basic shape there. If I need to trim up later on, I certainly can. So once you have your the subject of your that you want to have in the background of your magnet, what we're going to do is we're going to be adding a little bit of Mod Podge. That's what's in the little takeout container that was in your kit. This is a basic matte Mod Podge. Mod Podge is a material that allows you to do some decoupage, which is what we're going to be doing on the back of this magnet. Oftentimes, if you don't have Mod Podge or you don't expect to be using a lot of it, you can substitute like a white glue. So how this works is we're actually going to be using the Mod Podge on the glass bead first. So we're just going to be using our brush to paint on a thin layer. So you don't want it to be super gloppy. A little bit goes a long way. This is going to act like the glue that's going to hold the scrapbook paper to the back of our glass bead. Don't worry too much if you end up going over the edges. As I said, this craft is very forgiving. Once you feel like you've got a good even coverage along the back, you're going to take your paper and you're going to put it onto the back. Remember, you want the pattern side down so that when it all dries, because it will dry clear, you'll see the picture you want rather than the back of the paper. Okay, so it's hard to see here because it's a little cloudy. The Mod Podge is still a little bit wet, but we're going to take our finger and we're going to press down. There's some air bubbles in there that we want to make sure that we don't leave them. We want to make sure that there's solid contact between the paper and the gem. Okay, so I'm just kind of pressing it down. You can take your finger and kind of rub it towards the outside. Some of that Mod Podge may eke out. That's totally fine. You can just use your finger to kind of get any of that extra. It will handle a lot like white glue, so it'll dry in your fingers. It'll feel kind of crusty, but feel great. All right, so just check, make sure that you have no air bubbles. Again, remember, you're kind of chasing those air bubbles out to the side with your fingers. And you might see, again, a little bit of cloudiness. I can see some of the glue, the cloudiness of the glue around the outside. That will dry clear, so don't worry too much about that. Once you've gotten all the air bubbles out, we're going to flip it over again, and we're actually going to add another layer of Mod Podge to the back. This is going to protect it in the event it gets a little bit of water or moisture. This is going to act almost like a clear sealant. So we're just going to do, again, a thin layer of Mod Podge all the way around the edge, and make sure that you do get those seams. So we want to make sure that we're kind of creating a seam. So it's going to go, we're going to intentionally go off the paper just a little bit. Okay. And then we're going to set this aside. Okay. Remember, if you got glue on the bottom, I did. I can feel it with my fingers. Don't worry too much about it. Once it dries, we'll be able to scrape it off with our fingernail. We're just going to set that aside to dry and move on to our next glass bead. And you're going to follow that same process. Okay, so you're going to be finding a pattern that you like, using your pencil to trace around the outside edge. Cut that circle with the scissors, trim it to size, add a layer of Mod Podge to the back of the glass gem. Place your pattern on top. Make sure you press out all those air bubbles. And then add a second layer of Mod Podge. Once your Mod Podge has dried, you'll be able to tell because it will be dry. You'll be able to touch it. It may still be a little bit tacky, but you're not going to get any residue on your fingers. Once it's dried, then you can take your magnet and glue it to the center of the back. I find that a hot glue gun is the most secure way to attach these, but you can use like a white glue or craft glue, just be prepared to have to use a lot of glue so that it sort of ekes out the side. And be prepared for if the magnet falls off the refrigerator, it might break and you might have to re-glue it pretty quickly. As I said, hot glue, it may still do that. Take it from me, experience, but it doesn't do it very often. You might be able to get 5 or 6 falls before you have to replace the magnet with some fresh glue. But if you use white glue, you're probably going to have to do it every time it falls off the refrigerator. So this is starting to get dry. It's still a little bit wet, but just so that we get to see the process from start to finish, I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to the back. I'm going to put it on the magnet here. I'm actually using the low setting on my glue gun because I find that high is awesome for some things, but not necessary for this project. So you put just a little bit of glue on the back of the magnet and then press it to the back of the paper. Okay, you hold it in place, let it dry, and then you have your magnet. And you can create sets. These make really nice gifts if you do common themes. So, for example, these magnets here, whoops. These magnets here all came from the same page in a magazine. So, but together they look really nice. They look kind of like they came together as a set, especially if you do them as a color wash. So that is our craft activity. I did just want to let you know, I talked a little bit about the glass cabuchons. So those are about $10 from an online store for 100 of them. You can also get magnets for reasonably inexpensively online too. So these can make really nice gifts if you're putting them together for folks, especially if you use personal photos. So you could use pictures of yourself and your friends or yourself and your family. Just put the bead over the picture to find a good image that you like, and then follow the exact same process. Okay. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to let us know at the library. Visit our website at terryvillepl.info or give us a call at 860-582-3121, and we'd be happy to walk you through any trouble you might be having with this activity. Thanks so much for watching.